Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rotten, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net. And tonight we're reviewing A Quiet Place, Part 2, that is tearing up the box office this weekend. That is great news. It's great to hear a horror film beating up the box, especially after all this time. So we can't wait to get into it. All right, joining me tonight is, of course, Christopher G. Moore. Christopher, how you doing? Award-winning filmmaker.
Shh, be very quiet.
Run.
I'm doing good. I'm glad I can talk at normal level right now.
Yes, we're safe for now. All right, we have a special guest, and I am so excited to introduce her, CATI GLIDEWELL. She's been on the show before. She's the blonde in front, a blogger and a reviewer, YouTuber as well. So how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing good. It's great to be back in the theater. It's great to have a new film to review, and it's great to have you here to join us. So thank you for taking part and being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's dive into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to each give our first impression. After that, and that'll be spoiler free. And then after that, we'll get into a discussion. Then we'll get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, you can at least watch the first impressions. And then at the end of this, we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And you want to stick around for that. So let's see. What is this film we're talking about? What's this thing that's beating up the box office and making lots of money? Yes, A Quiet Place Part 2. If you saw the film A Quiet Place back in 2018, it was, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. It was on my top 10, so I did. It came to the theater May 28th, 2021. After a long journey, this film literally was coming out the week when everything shut down. It was the next film, and we had to wait 18 months. It's insane. Feels like. All right, the synopsis is: following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world, forced to venture into the unknown. They realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sand path. It's written and directed by John Krasinski. The cast includes Emily Blunt, Melissa Simmons, Cillian Murphy, Noah Jupe, Jimon Hansu, Scoot McNairy. He might be the threat lurking beyond the sandpath, and John Krasinski. Yes, he is back. How did that happen, you ask? Well, let's find out. All right, let's give our first impressions. Let's go with the blonde in front. Let's just put her. Let's just do it. Let's do it. You're first. What was your first impression of A Quiet Place Part 2?
I was wanting more. I was wanting more. I loved the performance by Millicent Simmons. She definitely is the star of the film. I thought, from the get-go, though, it was nice to see how everything began with this, with everything going on, and just the creatures. Good to see, John Krasinski, anytime he can be on the screen, that's always a little pitter-pat for me, and I'm sure a number of other people feel the same way. But yeah, I felt this was Millicent Simmons' film, but it's like overall, I was wanting more.
Wanting more. Okay, well, I can't wait to find out what more you were wanting here in a little bit, but let's find out what Christopher G. Moore thought. Sir, what was your first impression of A Quiet Place Part 2?
Well, the interesting thing is there was so much hoopla around the first film, and I kind of saw it a little bit late in the game. And when I saw it, I thought it was a little bit overrated. I didn't really understand everybody's enthusiasm for it. I thought it was a competent film, but it didn't really hit for me. This one hit for me on all cylinders, in all areas. I think it definitely shows growth with Krasinski and his directing and working with the cinematographer and stuff to create some extremely tension-filled scenes. William Friedkin even came out on Twitter and said this is a classic horror film. I mean, it's interesting. There's a lot of fans, even in the filmmaking community, around this film. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed the hell out of this film, and I think there's some really, I mean, he really amps up the tension. Even from the opening shot where there's actually almost like one long shot, continuous shot. You can actually go on YouTube and watch a Vanity Fair breakdown of that opening shot, and it's amazing all the stuff that they did to sort of pull that off. But you feel like you're in the midst of it, But yeah, I mean, this film's a tight. To me, it's a tight an hour and a half or whatever, and I think it. I mean, yeah, I think I could say, yeah, I wanted more, mainly because oh gosh, because I was so into it. I wouldn't have mind. This is one of the few times where I wouldn't have minded if it was more than an hour and a half, because I enjoyed every moment. I think every moment works. Granted, there are some moments where you're screaming at the characters, "Why are you going out? Why are you doing that?" But then we wouldn't have these crazy scenarios. And there's like at least 3 big jump scares that scared the crap out of me. In fact, one, I yelled shit in the theater and I was so embarrassed. But I think also getting back into theater, this is a film you need to see in a theater, because it was funny, because you have those people that got mad when they got scared. There was a group of girls that were over near me. They're all giggling together every time they got scared. It was just amazing to be able to watch that with people in the same area, so that we could all have that sort of same, different ways of responding, but the similar response to that, or the tension. And then people even clapped at the very end in my theater. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I think it takes stuff from the first film and makes it better. And there's stuff that from the first film that is a nice transition. And even like getting a little bit of the background stuff in the very beginning, I think adds a whole lot more than the first film. Because for me, the first film was kind of lagging in parts. This one is just full amp. I mean, it's like that first scene. I feel like we're going from this to this to this. You meet all these interesting characters. The screenplay works because there's stuff that connects to other things that, pop up later. But yeah, I think my only issue is the same issue you find in all horror films, where people make stupid decisions or whatever. But then you wouldn't have a horror film if those characters didn't do that. But yeah, I really, really enjoy this. This is one of my favorite films of the year so far, because I think it's perfectly crafted. And like I say, a lot of times as a filmmaker, this makes me, I'm going to steal stuff for my segment in my anthology horror film from watching these tension-filled scenes, because I have a scene towards the end that needs some tension. So I'm probably watching this again and taking notes on how he did these type of things. But I'm really surprised. I think Krasinski it makes me really excited to see what he does next after seeing this, what he's, taken like a sequel, and to me made it better than the first, in my opinion. But
yeah, I'm in your camp. I really had a good time with this. And was it being in the theater a part of it? Probably. But at the same time, I thought, Melissa Simmons, they make her out to be just shy of a superhero in this movie. She's the hero. She literally has to put her life in jeopardy to save everyone. And it's the being so invested in her character over the 2 movies, I was in the moment. I was just tense. And there was like some really well-handled action and suspense during a number of times, but definitely during the final acts, where I think I thought to myself, I went, holy Hitchcock, this is good. I was just thinking that the way he handled all the different storylines together and wove them to, at the same pace, at the same time, it was just handled so expertly that, yeah, I hope Krasinski does more horror, but I wouldn't mind if he did just anything, just as long as he does something, because I think he is a very talented director. And of course, it was great seeing him on screen as they went to day one, because that was pretty intense. But it's Cillian Murphy's film as well. He steps in, and what I liked is that he's different than John Krasinski's character, right? And that's part of the story, really. that he can step up to be the hero, but he's not going to do it in the same way that John Krasinski did in the first one. So I don't know. I kind of appreciated that. There's a particular moment in the film where it could have went a different way, and you knew it wasn't going to because of the movie you're in. But at the same time, I thought they handled that real well and gave that character some really honest and earned motivation, which I think helped. I think the weaker part is with the brother. Not that he doesn't handle it well, because his scream is terrifying, and he has reason to scream in a very ouch-filled moment. But there's just some things going on that side that weren't as exhilarating as what was happening with Melissa and Killian's characters. And but at the same time, I was totally on board. This is absolutely one of my favorite movies of the year thus far. It's the one to knock off the pedestal for me. We got lots of monsters too, and I love a good monster movie, and this one delivered. And the sound design, as you would expect, just like the first one, is top notch. So I heartily recommend this film to go see in the theater. So we got to jump into this, Katie, because you said you wanted more, and I can see where there's a lot more world building, because it kept it very, contained to the family. Even though we got more characters, it still was very streamlined in that respect. But what exactly were you looking for outside of what we got?
So are we getting into spoilers yet, or no?
We're spoilers now. Yeah.
So for me, when I say I wanted more, when it got to the point where both of the children became their own heroes, and you see them, like childhood is gone. They are warriors now. Then it's like, I felt like there was going to be a little bit more, but I didn't realize like the second part of the film or the third part of the film was a third part of the film, and then it just ended. And I was like, oh, okay. And to me, I just it's like you go through day one and you see everything that happened. And it's like, I want to get a little nitpicky too. There's certain things that I'm a little confused by. From the first one, I thought that these creatures come and they eat the people. And that was one of the things, like, humans are sustenance, because it's like as soon as they hear something, they kill you and grab you and all that stuff. Then it seems like they're just killing everybody and not necessarily for food. So then I was just a little confused on that. And when Cillian Murphy talked about like what happened to him, and we see him on day one, and then we see him like on day 474, and he tells Emily Blunt like what happened and stuff. I kind of would have liked to have seen a little bit more of his backstory, because he went through a lot. I mean, the family, I think it's the Abbott family, they got away kind of remarkably. It doesn't make sense how all of them like made it through, and up until day 4. Well, I guess not all of them, but up until the point, yeah.
Up until the spaceship went off, right?
Yeah, but then to know that, like with Cillian Murphy's character, I mean, he lost both of his kids on day one. His wife ended up having some sort of cancer, which that's a story in itself. I could have liked to have seen a little bit on when they got to him, just because it's like, I mean, he's been through the trenches. Like he doesn't have water. Emily Blunt and her family have all of that. Also, it doesn't seem like they're that far away, considering that when she has to go get medicine, she can make the trek and back like within a day?
Yeah, so there's
I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more. I mean, look, I had issues with the first one. They were on a sand farm. If anyone's heard my review, I make fun of it because I feel like they were on a sand farm. Like, how do you get that much sand when you're working with corn? I just didn't get it. But then you realize that they're not too far away from the beach, but they're obviously not at the beach. You like the sand farm thing? Yeah. there's a lot of sand for a corn farm, yet they're not that far away from, the ocean. And then it's like, if I'm going to be honest, let's get to the people that I call the scurvies, the ones that are at the beach, people.
Scoot McNairy
run
and friends.
out of sunscreen? Huh?
That Scoot McNairy was the lead of that group. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and he's great. One, I couldn't believe that was him because that was such a small part. But I call them the scurvies because it looks like they all had scurvy. And yet it's not like it's been 5 years. I mean, you guys should have the grocery store, it's not like you're getting replenished, but you're still going to have stuff. But you know how to wear sunscreen, and it looks like everyone has like 3rd-degree chemical peels or something. Or it's like, this was these were the extras from Chernobyl. And I didn't get that. And the fact that they've been there over a year and they didn't realize that the aliens can't swim. Come on. Really? You don't realize that should be a fundamental, like, huge thing that you guys are all trying to go out on your boats and none of you guys don't realize that they can't swim, but none of them seem to do that. So my thing is, like, I just got a little bit like, I don't understand why this is going on. This should have, there just should have been. I mean, I know I'm just going with it with the real world, but I would have thought there would have been some sort of, I don't know. I'm always going to be mad about the sand farm and the fact that with all this stuff, then they decided to get pregnant. I just didn't think that was the smartest thing either. But that was my problem with the first one. But with this, with the scurvy crew and all that stuff, I just wanted more. I just wanted to know, like, more about Cillian Murphy's character. Just, I don't know. I get this, like, it's got kind of an alien feel to it. And it seems like you're able to sort of get the feel for, what the aliens are doing without going through a half-hour exposition on it. And I just kind of wanted, like, a little bit more about these creatures and the family and stuff. That I just wanted more. So for an hour and a half, when I got to the end, I was like, oh, I mean, there's definitely seems like there's going to be a third one.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it?
That was my
feels
thought.
like set it up. Yeah. I mean, I see where you're going, but I think that the story was concentrating more on the kids, for better or for worse. But yeah, I mean, the Cillian Murphy's got his character Emmett got a lot of tell not show, and I would have been upset with that if they didn't follow that up with the boy going through his seeing how he lived and finding the corpse. And so it I don't know. For me, I was really drawn into the moment. What about you?
To me, I thought it was that was intentional because he talked about how people outside are not the same, and so I think that made him a character that you possibly could think, oh, maybe he could possibly be bad or evil, or he has something, he's hiding some kind of thing. And so for me, I felt like it was intentional. They were holding that information back, and we did have that little bit of reveal of certain things when the kid went upstairs. The docs have eyes people, as I call them. I felt like they're the people that don't know what the hell to do. Because I think not all of us are going to be on the same level of survival abilities. You know what I mean? And I think there might have been some kind of sense of that, like if we're on the water, maybe the water sounds of the water will because like when they previously had that was the one thing I had the problem with the first film. It's like if you know that the constant waterfall mass sounds, then why don't you just move your family to the waterfall? So there's things like that irritated me. But this one, I thought it was kind of interesting just meeting different people. And I just felt like these people didn't really have a lot of resources, and maybe they're just scared as fuck. So we're just going to stay in these boats, and maybe there's random people that come up. I mean, I felt like they might be cannibals, and they actually might be like all like having diseases from eating human flesh, but we really didn't have any information. So I do agree that like, I would have liked a little bit more information as to what they were doing. But But yeah, I mean, but yet also it added an extra element of different types of people than just normal people, hiding.
Yeah, here's a question for you guys. If that element, that scene, wasn't there, and they just unfortunately made a noise and drew the attention of the aliens, and we didn't have what'd you call them? What was their nickname you gave them, Katie?
The scurvy.
The scurvies.
Scurvy.
So if we didn't have the scurvies, would that have changed the film?
No, I just I don't know. I kind of maybe, and you know what? This is also, I've seen so many dystopian movies where you have to go from point A to point B with like all of these little landmines of horrible people in them, that to go from point A and you find Emmett, and he even says like, people aren't the same, all that stuff. And then you get on the train and then you see all these dead bodies. Cause then again, I was into that like, so are aliens just killing everyone, or are they eating? And then when you get to the seaside and then you see the scurvies, I kind of figure, I mean, that's a lot of people too. That's a lot of people that went bad in less than a year and a half. Like, here's the thing. We all know how people reacted in this past year. So I don't think it's that beyond crazy that they would have done that. If the cannibalistic, God, I feel like cannibalism is the most laziest form, that it's like you can try and grow things or something in a year's time. I mean, I feel like cannibalism is the last thing you should do. But at the same time, maybe, I mean, they definitely were going to do something nefarious to that girl that was not looking good. But no, I always have questions. Like I always have the question, like, like I did. Where do they get all the sand? Why didn't they? Yeah, I had the same thing. Why didn't they move to the waterfall so they could talk? Like, I mean, there's different things about it. It's not, but I loved Millicent Simmons. I think this is her movie. I like that they had the 3 subplots. That to me was a very difficult thing to do that Krasinski did, that he gave them equal time without taking away from one of the others, and, combining them all to have, overlap so they all blended very well. That I thought was actually, that I thought was quite good, especially at the end there. But I don't know. I just wanted more. I felt like I needed a little bit more story on some of the other people, especially when you're finally like getting off the farm, when you were there for like close to 2 hours. I mean, it was over 2 hours, the first one, and you only see one other person. And that was in the first one, that was the old man whose wife died. And then he wanted to die. Yeah. So now that you're seeing more people, it's like, if we're going to see more people, let's get this ball. Let's see a lot more people.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole island idea. I like that they, things were going in that direction, and I thought they gave a good explanation why it didn't quite take as big as they wanted to, because, on the mainland, it fell apart. But I really think the bigger moments are really the character moments. Like, for example, when I don't want to say her. I want to say what was her name? Reagan, right? Reagan Abbott. This color by her character's name, comes out and thinks that Emmett is gone, and just kind of collapses in grief, or not knowing what to do, and helplessness. And then he shows back up. I thought that was a great moment for her, and in turn became a great moment for him. And I think each character kind of gets one of those moments, like you were saying, Christopher, and you were saying, Katie. But yeah, definitely Reagan gets the bigger part of it all.
Although I will say,
the hero.
I'll have to disagree with you, Doc, on the brother. I think that he had an arc as well, being like the scaredy cat and having to be thrust into these different situations. And I think he had it. I don't think everybody's got to be like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of the group and go out and save people.
Was he a brother? Was he related?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally missed that. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were just buddies.
Um, but yeah, but I think although I will say, like, getting into the mindset, I can't imagine being someone who can't hear and being that, being so heroic, because you're not going to. A lot of times you hear people like walking steps or whatever, and the whole time I'm like so stressed out. Anytime she's gone off by herself, in certain situations, and and I learned that Krasinski, that the times where the sound sort of goes silent, it doesn't go totally silent. He asked the girl's mom, it's like, what does she say she hears? And she says that she can hear a little bit like a low hum with certain loud sounds and stuff. And so anytime it goes silent, he does that. And when her mom saw the scenes for the first time, she cried, because this is the first time I could relate to my daughter. I was like, oh, that's so so heartbreaking. But I think this, when you talk about sound design, I think that's what makes it, because then you put into her sort of point of view with those type of scenes where she's got to do these type of things, and her trying to be the heroic one. But at the same time, there's certain scenes where like they're heroic, and then I think the one time that made me mad at a character is is it Digimon? Is that the guy that the African American?
Thompson, yeah.
Yeah, I can't ever pronounce his name right. So DJ, I'll call him DJ for short. When he's like standing near an open garage door.
I know.
Like, I don't know if I should go back. I was like, how am I get away from the damn door? There's enough room for something to grab you. And of course, it's obvious what's going to happen. I think that was the one scene I was like, I am so mad at you. You deserve to die. Yes. Because you're so worried about, like, okay, I understand, but if you really want to save them, get them into the upstairs place. But I think that's the one moment that kind of took me out. I was so mad at the character, because it just seemed like a moment that we like that moment of pause that characters do so they can be dragged away. So that's a scene that wasn't really a jump scare, because I was just like, I know what's going to happen there. No.
But the car chase was awesome.
Oh God, that scared me.
That one is that one where everyone had a jump scare, because I literally did jump out of my seat. I was like, oh shit, yeah, I did do that.
Well, and I think there's several of those moments in this film where it just shows you that Krasinski really knows how to sort of like, build an atmosphere, build a tension, or take away the tension. You think everything's okay, and then bam, those are the best type of jump scares, because then you really don't expect it, And the convertible scene is one of those things where like, oh, everything's okay. Oh no, it's not. I hate you, Krasinski. Yeah. And there's a few other moments like that, and I think to me that's just perfect filmmaking. That I think somebody on Twitter said this is a master class on tension, and I think there's a master class on how to set up a jump scare effectively. That's not just let's blare the music. Let's
when they're predictable, even when it's predictable,
even when it's predictable, it's earned.
Yeah, when it was in the train car and she's trying to get the first aid kit, it's like exactly what's going to happen.
I know it's going to happen.
Still jump, still got me.
Well, yeah, and I was like, I know, like the whole time I'm like, oh God, there's going to be a squeaky door. There's going to be a squeaky hinge. I don't like this. Don't go in the stupid train car. What are you doing? But we wouldn't have such a suspenseful scene if she didn't.
Yeah.
If she wasn't going for the first aid, it wouldn't have made sense. But I kind of, as soon as I saw that she was trying for the first aid, I went, okay, I would try to,
One thing, I know you're talking about the arc of the little brother. I did really like the fact that they gave the audience like a backstory of his anxiety. Mm-hmm. So that it's like, look, this isn't just, the end of the world circumstances, and this is the scared kid. He has like, anxiety issues that his mom's working him on, just breathe, it's okay, calm down, all that stuff. And then to see him react to certain situations so that that. It's like, I thought that was great. And I think, again, with everything that's been going on in the world, a lot of people can relate to that. Like, it's okay, just calm down. We all, We've all been through it. I actually thought I was trying to figure out the dates, like since like COVID shut down everything, and I thought it would have been cool if like when they went from day one to, it's 474, so it's a little bit longer, but it's actually close to like 474 days to when the world shut down with COVID to when this film is now coming out, even though it was supposed to come out like last April, I think. It's a little bit, I think it's short, like 20 days or so, but I thought it was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it was the end of March, wasn't it? When it's supposed to be the end of March or middle March, I don't know, but it was like right at the time everything shut down. So man.
Although I will say, I'm not sure I wouldn't scream if a trap closed on my leg.
Oh, I would scream.
And I'm not sure what level of calming Emily Blunt could give me, because I would be. I mean, that was that whole scene. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out watching this, because I don't know what I would do if that happened to me. I'm not sure if I could control my screams.
And what do you do to have him control his screams?
And the fact that he could walk on it at all after that. Are you kidding? Like that went through, that's like in the bone. Like,
well, she said that it didn't go into the bone. So I guess that's how she sort of explained that.
Didn't?
It is. She says it got. She says that didn't, that because when she wrapped it, she's like, luckily it didn't get to the bone or something.
Yeah.
Or it got to the bone without getting into it.
Yeah. Ouch.
Okay.
Little kid. But that was an intense moment, because he doesn't realize it at first. It was done really well.
Well, it's like when you're not supposed to be able to make any kind of sound. I'm like, oh, I think if that whole situation was real, I think the movie would have ended pretty quick.
Right there, it would have been over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're watching, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you're enjoying not only this review, but other reviews that are on the site. If you want to help us out, the easy thing to do, it's easy and it's free, is to hit the subscribe button or share with a friend, and that will do wonders for us. If you want to go a little step further, hit the like button and let us know what you think in the comments down below. We want to take a quick moment to thank our patrons over at Patreon, who without their patronage, we wouldn't be able to do not only Horror News Radio, but Gruesome Magazine, Decades of Horror, and Heroes and Droids. So thank you all so very, very much. All right. I'm going to ask Katie, do you want to go first, or would you like Christopher to be the first to go with their final
Christopher,
thoughts?
why don't you go first? Because I know mine's, it's not going to be horrible.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, well, we'll create a little happy sandwich around
there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. And actually, you'll be glad to know this, Doc. Did you get the Jaws reference in the film? I'm sure you didn't catch it because it's in the background.
I didn't. What was it?
The opening scene, when the whole long one take scene, when he goes and talks to the officer, there's a restaurant in the back that's Brody's Pizza.
I didn't see it. Oh man.
Which is a reference that I think his wife had asked him. He's like, what type of movie would you ever want to make? And he's like, I'd love to make Jaws. And so there's a Jaws reference. So that he says this is his Jaws. This film is his Jaws. And also the whole scene with inside the car when they're driving and stuff, that was all real. They had a camera on the camera they normally use for Transformer movies. They don't use it for like normal movies like this. Not this is a normal film. So it could move and spin. And so the scene where the bus comes forward and she goes backwards and the camera pushes into her, the camera got knocked and went into her by mistake. So that, and he's like that's like the best mistake you want to happen, because it creates even more tension because it goes into her when she's driving backwards. So those are one of these happy accidents as filmmakers you hope that you have, as opposed to it spoiling the scene. They actually had that scene, they had to do it for 3 weeks. It took them 3 weeks to practice it so they can get it perfectly, because it's all done. And actually there's one stitch shot between when he gets out of the car and then the car gets knocked. That car that gets knocked, that's a real car. It's just wires. ILM took the wires out of it. But when he goes outside the car, they switch to a different shot. That's the only time where it moves. But yeah, I mean, this film is a it's a masterclass on tension. It's a masterclass on jump scares. It does have a lot of the issues you might find with horror films in general, where characters do stupid shit and you get mad at them. But I'm probably the worst at getting mad at certain characters. But again, most films would be 5 minutes long if that was the case. But I think those scenes, the way they're mapped out, there's so many different scary scenes they get trapped in, and they have to figure out a way out of it. And you're right there in the midst of it. It's like, oh, what are they going to do? And you're stressed out, or you almost crap yourself because something jumps out when you don't expect it. And this is a perfect film to watch in a theater. You know, if you feel comfortable enough, go see it in the theater, because that communal watching of it, being in that, it's great to have that feeling, because I don't think you really get the same thing, because I think most people get up and pee in the middle of it and not really get entrenched in the middle of what's happening on the big screen. Although this thing may make you use the bathroom without you wanting it to. So watch how much you drink while you're watching this. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful film. I think, there's probably a few things they probably could have explained a little bit more. As much as I like the docs have eyes people, or the scurvies, as you called it, or the scabies, or whatever. We don't even know what kind of disease that was, for all we know. It still was kind of interesting to see, instead of it just being normal people, so these weird, wounded up families that live on these boats. But I think for me, that scene is also very indicative of good screenwriting, where you have a reference, like at the very beginning, where she shows them dive, and how that becomes very integral to how that scene plays out. And I was like, bravo, that's really brilliant, because there's a lot of times there's a reason why certain lines are thrown out there that they come back later, and you appreciate that. So yeah, I think all the performances, and the young girl, man, she is amazing in this film. And you get to see so many levels, from her strength to her being emotional. You see so many different levels to her acting ability in this. And but yeah, I really love this film. I was really surprised. I think Doc knows I was kind of not looking forward to this, because I was not a big fan. I have friends that just love the first film to death, and I just to me, it's just like any other film, and that one annoyed me more about certain decisions and things. The sand thing I didn't really care about, but I don't know. I guess they're farmers. Maybe they had sand for some reason, or maybe gardeners. They had big bags of sand. They did run out of it at some point. So, but at the same time, there's this film. I think the scenarios they set up, I think you can definitely see Krasinski has grown as a filmmaker. He's really tight in his abilities to setting up these specific scenes and these scenarios to play out, to where you're just as stressed out. You're stressed out to some degree. Probably not as stressed out as the characters, but you're stressed out. I had a friend that went to go see it in 40X, and I was like, I don't want to see it in any kind of immersive theater, because I feel like I'd be even more stressed out.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure they probably spray water at you at some point because of the water part. But yeah, as for a rating, I will give it a 4.5 out of 5. I probably would get it a 5, but I think the guy in the garage, that scene bothered me so much. I hate it when certain scenes bother me, but it seemed, I can understand you caring about your family and what's happening, but I know I'm one of those people. If I'm a scaredy cat, I'm going to get away from any kind of open holes or doors or whatever, because I'm scared something's going to get me. So I don't know. I think that to me that was. Yeah, that thing annoyed me, and I hate saying that, but that's the only thing that knocked it down for probably a full 5 for me. But I think the cinematography, everything's on point on this, and it really makes me excited. Even if he goes away from horror, I think he's a storyteller and he's a director to watch. And I'd love to see what he does, or if, where they go from here. I think in the ending, I kind of was, I was wondering if it's gonna be one of those things where we go around the country or something, or go around like everybody listening to the radios and going out of their houses with the radios, but that probably would have been cheesy. As for favorite scene, that's a good question. I will say, I don't know. I'll have to say the convertible scene because I thought that was such an effective jump scare for me. So I'll say the convertible scene.
Convertible scene.
Yeah,
that is a good scene. It might have taken mine.
Maybe I took everybody's.
every time. All right, okay, you're up next.
Yeah.
What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
So, final thoughts. I think the definite stars of the film are Millicent's. It's either Simons or Simmons as Reagan, and the music. I think the music is phenomenal and absolutely fantastic. I do think the everyone talking about the sound design. This is one of those films that has, I think, some of the best sound design definitely of 2021 that I've seen. I just wish there was some things going on. Like, it really bothers me that the Scurvies are even like a collective community that then are like torturing people and stuff in 474 days once civilization goes to hell. And the fact that they've got aren't using sunscreen on the beach. But then, I mean, with so much sand, so you'd think they'd be able to like get around easier than anyone. I really have a problem with them also not knowing that the creatures can't swim. That just really, really bothers me. But yeah, I'm glad they got out of the sand farm and, did a walkabout to try and find new people. I thought that was good. I kind of maybe, yeah. But I would give it a 3.8. I just have, I just have so many more questions than answers. I feel like even in the beginning, it's like with all of the carnage and stuff that happens and that we see in like, the bus and the people just getting strewn about, like just ripped to shreds. I feel like looking at the first one again, which I happened to be on and watching it and knowing what happened in the second one, it's 90 days after the first one, and the fact that it's like they you have the sound and all that stuff. I always wonder who's making these papers, who's making these publications of papers that are letting people know that that's how the animals can't that's what the thing is that they can hear you. How are you getting these papers out when you look at this now, the beginning of the second one, and everyone in that town is slaughtered? It seems like, except for the Abbott family and then this guy, Emmett. So these, again, more questions, and I know are just like nitpicky, but it's like, it's like, don't have them on there. Then don't have the things, like let the characters tell you. But my favorite scene is actually the end, is the warrior pose by the daughter and the son, because I think they both like step up and become the heroes. And it's like one that definitely is showing up. It seems like they're making that towards, possibly a Quiet Place 3. But I like how, yeah, he's scared. We all are. Yeah, she's scared. Everything that she's been through on that 2-day journey from her family to this island. And they step up. And that's the things I love the most about this film, is that I feel like everyone is stepping up. Like with the first one, it was John Krasinski. He was like saving the family, doing this stuff, like, going to give his life to save everybody. And I feel like in this one, this is like a full court, like Cillian Murphy did it. What is it? Noah Jupe? I forget its name. Marcus, the kid who played Marcus, did it. Yeah. The kid who played Reagan, they're all stepping up to be the heroes, and I feel like they're kind of having that, they're taking that inspiration for Dad, but they're being their own person. And that ending, I did like that a lot, that they like took that warrior stance, and to say, and even, you know, Emily Blunt's face when she sees her son do that, like she can't even believe it. And he like steps up and he's like, yeah, I know what this means and I know what I have to do. And it's like, good for you. And then that was my favorite part of the film, was the end. But then it just ended and I didn't realize it was the end. And it's like, oh, okay. So that was, 3.8. I think it's not bad. I would tell, I do agree with you, Christopher. You need to be a captive audience to watch this, to have that collective, like, and like, ooh, that tension that you feel with other film goers. And yeah, it's like the best to see this on a big screen and have those monsters coming right at you. And especially with those jump scares, it's not cheesy jump scares. Like, you know, you kind of know what's going on, but oh man, yeah, I really jumped. I was a little embarrassed that I did that too, because it's like, you know, this is coming, you know, it's not like it's a surprise, but it was definitely worth it. And it was great.
Yeah, he's really got the timing down for the jump scares. I mean, if you look at that scene that we're talking about inside the convertible, you know, because it is that half beat thing. I don't know if you guys ever heard that thing. You know, it's not on beat 3. It's like 2.75 or something.
Did you have a favorite scene?
Oh, I thought she said the final scene.
Oh, did you say the final scene? Okay.
Yeah. Oh. All right. So
sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh no.
no, I will say, like, it's.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. No, I do want to say that that there was somebody that posted that they went to go see it in New York City, and some woman had an argument with the other woman and tased her in the theater. That's probably not the right. So that's probably not the right theater to go to.
Yeah, don't go to that one, wherever that is. Oh my god!
But yeah, you know, at the same time, it made for an entertaining screening, I guess.
It was
one you're not going to forget.
Somebody letterbox review, but they're in the theater, and it's like they went through the whole thing. Like a kid was talking, and these ladies came in, and they were loud. And then the police came and like, yeah, the movie was good, but that was that whole circumstance was so much better. Like, oh my god, that was hilarious. Yeah. My favorite scene was the warrior scene with the two kids, where they like stood up and just like, they're saving everybody.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. What I find fascinating is that we're talking about this film and we're not really mentioning the monsters all that much. I mean, we are, but not like you would, like, well, Godzilla versus Kong, right? Where it's about the monsters. And I think that's a big appeal for me with this, where it has the monsters and they're very present, but we're talking about, you know, the kids, we're talking about Cillian Murphy's character, we're talking about the world building. And I think that's really the strength of this, is that, you know, we've talked about that before. If you can take the horror out of it and it's still a good film, that's the nature of it, right? It makes it a great horror film because it's you're invested with the characters. The arcs are important, and the Cillian Murphy character. Christopher, you mentioned his arc, and I really did appreciate his arc, and mainly because he had, and I was trying to express that and I didn't, because he had to step into the hero dad role, and he didn't feel like he was up to it, and he did. But there's so much going on, and it really, my favorite parts are going to be with him and Reagan, because I thought their relationship and how they empowered each other was the heartbeat of this movie, right? That's where the strength of it is, with them and their journey and what they're after. And that's going to end up being my favorite scene is with them, actually. There's two, and I'm going to cheat and give both of them because they're in different parts of it, but it's the arc, right? It's the start and the end of it. And that's where I mentioned it earlier, where she wakes up after the train bit, and because they hide, and then the next morning they go back on their journey, but he's not there. and she just thinks that he abandoned her. She doesn't know what's going on, and he comes back and he says, he found the boat and he knows where he's going. And it ends up being a very powerful scene, and it reignites her strength, and and it also shows that he's not going to take her home like he's been that he's been challenged with, right? He said, go get her and bring her home to me. No, he's going to listen to her, and I love that. And then wrap it up. The part that actually is my favorite scene is the next scene with the two of them. And it's, I think, right about the third act, at the beginning of the third act, right? And he looks at her and he goes, I'm sorry that I ever doubted you. And that was so powerful. I really love that. And I love that, these characters are bonded forever because of this. And it's a unique bond in the genre, I think, because it's not familiar. It's not, I didn't realize I guess he's an uncle. I didn't know. I didn't really catch that. So, but regardless,
no, he's just a friend from that. Yeah.
He's just a friend. All right. So yeah. I don't know. I just, that he recognizes that strength in her, that what she's after and what she wants to do. And I guess he sees John Krasinski's character in her, right? He sees Lee in her. So I thought that was amazing, and that really struck a chord and made me like it even more. So that's why I'm giving it a 4.75. I could have given it a 4.5 too for very similar reasons, Christopher, but because of what I just said, I've got to go back up to 4.75. But I can't give it a 5 because there are plot holes. They didn't bother me as much, but I certainly see Katie's point to them. The world building is kind of only necessary to get them from point A to B, and I think that's what you're kind of addressing, right, Katie? They really don't elaborate; they just give enough.
Yeah, because I mean, you start. It's because my thing. It's like with the scurvies. I don't know. Is that a tight knit community? I'm not sure. But hopefully the term the scurvies, goes viral. I'm hoping for that. It's just when you see, the community that Lee and his family are in. And that was one of the things that I thought with Fault. You see how close everyone is. Like they know each other's names, all that stuff. But then everyone's like, no one is together. And I get it. It's because of sound, all that stuff. So it just makes me, it does anger me that their family makes it. No one else that they know besides this Emmett guy that they didn't even realize Emmett was alive. And then you get to the scurvies who are the crappy people and they're all working together as a community to basically kill people. So it's like, I don't know. It was very frustrating for me that it's like, I want the good people to work together for goodness and not the bad people ending up like doing this crappy stuff, which usually always happens. But yeah, that was just, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our review for A Quiet Place 2. Welcome back to the theaters. It did great in the box. It's giving, I think, a lot of people hope that we are on the track to a healthy box office. And as a film fan, that's exactly what we want. And been enjoying being back in the theater. Katie, thank you for joining us. Blonde in Front. Where can people find you?
Find me on The Blonde in Front on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And then I also do reviews on the Radio of Horror show under The Blonde in Front of Fear. Excellent.
Thank you. I hope you will come back later in the season and join us again as films come out in the theater. You're always welcome.
I would love to.
Yay. And Christopher, of course. And I want to, sorry, it was one last thing. I just want to share how great it was, Christopher, to be able to hang out with you this weekend for the first time. And since Women in Horror Film Festival last February. And we got to go to the Fear Fest here in North Carolina, and we got to hang out together along with Crystal and Sean and Bill Mulligan. And we went to eat sushi afterwards. much to everybody else's chagrin, they didn't want to go, but I made them and they loved it. Hey,
It was good.
a good choice. So that was great. And I just want to say, if you know, I really appreciate that moment. Thank you, sir.
That was a great day. By the way, I did want to quickly mention when they got to the island, I kept expecting something. I was suspicious. After seeing the scurvy people, I expected them to be a little bit malicious or having some kind of ulterior motives. That there were going to be some cult.
Yes, yes.
It could be some Cthulhu thing. I don't know. As a horror filmmaker and somebody likes horror, I'm just always suspicious. These people are too nice. But anyway, moving on.
All right. Thank you. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.